since my grandfather's time. The gate hasn't been in place. Went from father to son, so it's not a real, it's not legal under our system. All the rest of them haven't been in place for a long time.
Wow.
Gwi Gwinaath has been one of the few exceptions, because you guys have carried that on. They're supposed to be feasted names, but a lot of them are vacant. Gwi Gwinaath's in place. Luulgit is in place. Tsm'syen hasn't been around for, well, Arnold got taken in from Gug'wilxya'ansk and put in place as Tsm'syen. So Gug'wilxya'ansk died was Lucky Wu made Gwi. So things have been mixed up for a while now, so people haven't been in their proper place. And then Tsm'syen has been kind of an empty vessel for a long time now. Haven't had all the feasting, haven't had all the cultural prerogatives. And it was, I asked around amongst the other nations about what's the actual protocol and what's our ayah surrounding burying a name. I asked the Gug'wilxya'ansk, specifically some of the Tsm'syen up there, and they said, first part of the protocol, put the name up. They hang it up for a few generations until whatever happened is wiped away. What happened was Gug'wilxya'ansk Harris's wife is Cree. We went up for their memorial feast and whatnot up there, but they told us the story of what happened up there the day before. The tribe got together, the Gug'wilxya'ansk got together, Gug'wilxya'ansk got together. They opened the coffin up and he had all his regalia on. They asked, what's this all about? His wife's Cree, she should have been fully culturally educated into the system, but she said that was his personal request. He wanted to be buried in all his regalia, and he wants the name buried. The elders quickly got together and they said, this can't happen. We'll sit down, put some money together, we'll send somebody into Smithers, get a suit, lift off all his regalia. They said, if you bury him, you bury that name, we're no longer a tribe. You've dissolved us. They said, we know that you're a Cree, we know that you haven't been involved in our system, and we know that you're not knowledgeable. You can't do it by personal request. There are protocols that we follow. It needs to be a decision, not just an individual, but it needs to be the tribe that does it. So Tsm'syen, when Joseph Offutt, when he was born, he became Christian. He was one of the first generation of half-breeds, according to the history I've heard of him. The elders were actually talking about committing infanticide. They were going to kill him. They didn't know who his father was. Comes in school, I asked the old man, my dad, about that. I said, what's the actual protocol for that? They said, well, in the old days, if you comes in school, secret father, they didn't know who the father was. They didn't know his temperament. They didn't know whether he's going to be a good person or a bad person or short-tempered or whatever. They said they'd never elevate him to that. So at that point in time, the diseases had run rampant through the society. He was one of the few left as he was growing up. You have to put the name on. Otherwise that name's going to disappear. Said he's the only one left now. And so I asked my dad about, which one was it, Bud that had that name? Bud. So I asked my dad, I said, how is Bud related to Joseph Offutt, his great uncle? And I said, any other information that you might want to share? He said, yeah, they had similar facial features, same color eyes, and some kind of the same aptitude, you know, how they carry themselves and walk. Oh, okay, well, that's pretty good. He said, well, he never feasted, and I don't think Bud ever feasted that name either properly. Just kind of carried the name throughout his lifetime. So now, the ones that are in place right now stated that we buried that name. So, never followed proper protocol, never talked to the rest of the tribe. So I asked some good amongst the Gug'wilxya'ansk and the Tsm'syen, what's the proper protocol? He said, well, that Tsm'syen would have done something awful bad, and it carried on intergenerationally, and bad luck followed that name, maybe for 3 generations. So to give you an example, Tsm'syen was a name that they had up there for a long time. They put it on one individual, he died within a year, young guy. Put it on the second one, he only lasted 6 months. The third one got cancer, and his face started rotting off. So they said, okay, too much bad luck following that name. We'll put it up maybe 1 or 2 generations, and we'll put it back into place again. But unless that Tsm'syen did something awful, and then the next one did something awful, they said it had to be pretty. I don't believe he had that history of that kind of awfulness. That's where we have to become knowledgeable about our ayah again. Yeah. put the law on top of anything anybody says, and it makes it pretty clear.
Yeah.
Who was there? Who made those decisions? Who were the witnesses? Who was the investigative Manukto was there? They follow all the proper protocol before they did that. I just started, when I was down at UBC, I gave them a list of stuff that I wanted, and they didn't know, they only had English names there. They didn't know the tribe, the proper status level, their traditional name, their crest, and the house group they belonged to. So when I introduced that concept to them right away, they said, "Whoa, that sure would be nice to have all that information." I said, "Yeah, it would be. It takes a long time to sit down and write all that stuff up, to go through all that information." The problem is that nobody really knows any of this information anymore. And when I introduce it to them, they go, "What's that?" And even the listings of the types of songs, the only reason that I was able to catch on to stuff quick was because I went through a lot of the Gug'wilxya'ansk protocols. The names on there I recognized, and they translated into Arsena, like Tsm'syen and Limkoi and
That's the beauty of the language, though. It helps you.